way of update, the Transport and Tourism Committee have earlier this morning decided to invite the Dublin City Manager, Mr. Keegan, together with representatives of the promoter, Aiken Promotions, and the GAA to come before the committee tomorrow to discuss the fiasco. As you know, Fianna Fáil published legislation last week that would resolve the immediate impasse that exists, would put an appeals process in place, and would give powers to the Minister for the Environment to overturn the decision that has been taken by Dublin City Council and allow the 5 concerts to go ahead. We've offered that legislation to the Taoiseach. He has said he will read it, but he has refused to allow government time. Tomorrow morning we will move the bill in the House. We still believe that there's an opportunity to have these 5 concerts go ahead. It will take a little bit of guts by the government to take the legislation. If they wish to amend it further, that's fine, but it is within their powers to allow these concerts to go ahead. And when you consider the reputational damage that's being done to Ireland as a result of this from a tourism perspective, it's incumbent on the government to move on the issue. The impact that it will have on the economy of Dublin, the damage it will do to hotels, restaurants and small businesses in the catering sector that are struggling at the moment and whom would have benefited very greatly from these concerts. It's our belief that the government cannot stand by, that there is an opportunity there for them to address it. It's rather bizarre that it requires a legislative change, but unfortunately that's the only way now in which these events can be put back on track. It's not about the particular style of music, it's not about the genre of entertainment. It's about the tourism potential, the impact on Ireland's reputation. And I think the sooner the government take cognizance of that, then I think it's the better for the economy of Dublin and the reputation of Ireland internationally as a welcoming destination from a tourism perspective.
Timmy, are you not just creating false hope though for people who...
Well, Pádraig, we as legislators have a mandate to try to address issues as they arise. And regardless of the, as I said, of the artistic endeavour that's involved here, there is a serious issue. 400,000 Irish people have purchased tickets for an event that they have decided is important to them. The economy of the city of Dublin is very welcoming, and the people who work in that sector need these kind of events in order to make their living. And I think that's an issue of some seriousness. And I think it's an issue that the government should involve themselves in. Of course there's long-term issues, and there's little doubt that the whole licensing regime needs to be overhauled. But it would be wrong of us to stand back and wait for some kind of review group to come forward with proposals through a committee in 7, 8, 10 months' time, when there's an immediacy. You only have to look at international media over the last number of days. This is trending all over social media internationally. It's a highlight item on CNN, on Sky Television. It's being broadcast internationally with some level of humour. People are somewhat confused as to how something like this could happen in a country which prides itself in being welcoming to tourists. Now you have to look at the fact that there are somewhat like 70,000 tickets sold internationally for this event. From that point of view, I think it's incumbent on the government to find a solution. That's not to suggest that we park everything else and that we only address this issue. But it's a small part of the work that should be done in this House, and it shouldn't be taken out of context, and it shouldn't be ridiculed just because it's representative of a particular genre of entertainment. But it's something that, as I said, has potential to create long-term reputational damage to Ireland as a tourism destination in terms of attracting concerts of this size and scale, attracting international events that require large numbers of participants. And one which I think really impacts on our domestic economy and the economy of Dublin.
What would you...
Hugh is going to have I'm sure a pop.
Have you got tickets?
No, not yet.
What would you hope to gain by bringing them in tomorrow? I mean, it's over.
Well, the Taoiseach has taken that. The Taoiseach's response yesterday was the artist has made his decision, the 5 events are off, let's leave it at that. I'm somewhat more of an optimist. I'm of the view that if the government brought forward some piece of legislation that had the capacity to allow these 5 concerts to go ahead, that it should be possible to still encourage the artist to live up to the commitment that he had already given. My understanding from media reports is that the stage and all the equipment that's required to host the events are on the high seas. That equipment is en route here. So therefore I think there's still time to find a resolution, and I quite frankly don't think that the government should weasel out of their commitment here, and I would have hoped that, notwithstanding the moving around of the deck chairs, which is clearly a priority for them at the moment, that they wouldn't be able to address this important issue.
But Timmy, what do you say to the likes of the Greens who say that intervening in the planning process is, to borrow that word, cowboy politics?
And I have very great regard for the planning process when it comes to our built heritage, when it comes to the impact on our environment, when it comes to the issue of sustainability. There is little doubt that 5 events will not have a long-term impact on anything other than the economy. And for that reason, we're left in a situation where there's no appeals mechanism. As you know, normally within planning law, the 2000 Act and indeed previous acts provided for an appeals mechanism. So if it was a planning decision that you weren't happy with, it could be appealed to Bord Pleanála. No such provision is provided for in the legislation. So what we're suggesting is to get over the current crux. Piece of legislation allows the Minister to be the final arbitrator, make a decision that's in the best interest of the economy of Dublin and the tourism potential of Ireland internationally, and then come up with a more long-term solution that deals with the licensing laws for these kind of large-scale public events in a manner that takes all concerns into account, but has the fundamental objective of ensuring that the reputation of Ireland as an inbound tourism destination is not irreparably damaged.
Garth